with Lady Gregory, there was a close circle of friends amongst the literati. And in the basement of that library was this washroom, which has been there since. And I just had to take a picture of it because it was elegant. It was all that was ceramic tiles, stone tiles, and it looked pristine. It's been very, very well cared for. And here we have Marion Square, and this is where the novelist, poet, and satirist Oscar Wilde lived at #1 on the left. Yeats lived at #82, and today several embassies and the National Maternity Hospital are located there. And this is Marion Park, and the street surrounds it. And in Marion Park is the National Memorial to members of the Defense Forces who died in service to the state. It was a beautiful memorial and would be a wonderful place to have November 11th service. And then there's Oscar Wilde, and he's at the northwest corner, I think, of Marion Park. And this statue of him is amazing. What got me was the juxtaposition to the little lady who is very pregnant, and he's not quite looking at her, but almost. So I have no idea why they placed those two statues so close together. But I also thought it was amazing because of the green and pink and gray. They're so vivid, and I'm not quite sure how it's marble. I'm not sure how they got those colors, but just really brilliant. And then there are lots of statues in Dublin, and the local folks give them some interesting names. So James Joyce, the city knows that statue as the prick with a stick, and it's located just off O'Connell Street. I know. I thought that was really, really strange. And of course, he wrote Ulysses and the portrait of a young man, the portrait of an artist as a young man, and then the life of the linesman, and that's located on the south side of the Liffey. And then there's Molly Malone, and they don't know whether the story of Molly Malone is actually true. They don't know if she existed, but as you know, the song "In Dublin's Fair City, where the girls are so pretty," you must know that. And it's I listened to the whole song, and I encourage you to do that. Go online and look up an Irish singer and have her sing it to you. It's you know, the crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. So, an amazing song. We could almost do it as a shanty, except it's not a shanty. And then there are two ordinary women known as, to the locals, as the hags with the bags. And then I also went to the museum, the National Museum of Anthropology, and this entrance was outstanding. This is beautiful, beautiful mosaic, and those tiles are all based on the zodiac, but you went anywhere within the museum and you had floors like this. And then there were the shells, and a lot of people went to the Camino and brought back shells, and they did this in the 17th and 18th centuries, and today the shell is the sign of the Camino. If you're walking on the northern trail to get to Santiago, you will find direction on, and there will always be a shell on the direction, the written direction pad. And here we have a Viking warrior, and I could not believe how big this skeleton was. Had to have been 7 feet tall. And if you look at the sword also is huge, and to be able to lift it, it would have been really, really challenging. And then there, in that museum also was the Lurgan longboat, and it's an early Bronze Age canoe from Galway This is in the museum, this is what is left of it, and this is where they found it in Galway. And here it is arriving at the museum before it's taken inside. I have no idea how they got it inside. And then my last stop was at St. Patrick's Cathedral, which is south of Christchurch Cathedral. And inside is spectacular. And these all along here, I spoke to a choir director because it was a Friday night and there was going to be evensong. And I said, do you know what? We've got swords and shields. Well, it's relics of the Knights of St. Patrick. And it struck me as so odd to be in a church, but there it was. And Jonathan Swift was the longest standing dean of St. Patrick's, and if you look at the right there, you'll see he started in 1713 and went until 1745. And on the left is his tombstone. That just gives you the dates there, but also you've got the Esther Livingston, have I got that correct? And she is known as Stella. And the interesting thing is nobody knows whether they actually married, but they were longtime friends. And the fact, put that in quotes, the fact that they are buried so closely together certainly indicates that there might have been something going on between two of them.
Still is.
Still is. And I was very fortunate. I arrived at the church about 3 in the afternoon, 3:30, spent some time wandering around. I did a brass rubbing as well. They provided the paper and the materials to do it. Haven't had it framed yet. And 5 o'clock, evensong. So I stayed and I sat in Jonathan Swift's pew, which I thought was kind of neat. And you can see the stained glass windows reflecting through on the walls there. And next to the church is Marsh's Library. And Marsh's Library was founded in the early 18th century by Archbishop Narcissus Marsh, and it was designed by Sir William Robinson, the Surveyor General of Ireland. And it is one of the very few 18th century buildings left in Dublin that is still being used for its original purpose. Many of the collections in the library are still kept on the shelves allocated to them by Marsh and by Elias Buhero, the first librarian when the library was open. It is unchanged for 3 centuries. This perfectly preserved library of the Enlightenment with its original bookcases houses more than 25,000 rare and fascinating books. And the library is open to the public and children are particularly welcomed. Scholars may consult holdings by arrangement. I arrived, unfortunately, after it had closed, which is why you've got a picture of the gate and the staircase. This picture came from the internet on the right. But I looked at the internet and looked at some of the programs that they offer, and I'd love to be able to go back to Marsh's Library. And so much more to see, so little time. And those are a few places that I would like to go. There's a writer's library. There is the Jones Tavern there that Yeats went to. There is the Dublinia Medieval, and it's a museum, this one here on the right, and it offers medieval Dublin, Viking Dublin, historic hunters, and the St. Michael's Tower. And there we have Shaw's birthplace right here. And this is a little garden called Dublin, spelled the way Blackpool is spelled. And it's the gardens behind Dublin Castle. So, thank you so much for your attention, and if you have any comments or questions. No comments, no questions? All right, then, let's just take a look at next week.
Put your widget away.
Oh, by the way, have a little token of thanks for